Cameras are rolling. Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, for maybe the last episode, maybe the second to last episode, possibly, of the Citadel of Chaos. The reason I'm saying that, I know I might seem a bit confident, overconfident, is that last time I played this, if you may recall, not only did I find one essential item, I found 3 items that are essential to completing the quest. Now, what that tells me is not just where to find those items, but also it tells me one more thing, and that is very roughly the exact optimum route through the game. Because I know I have to go where I need to go to get those things, and that means that whatever else I might be needing should be very close to that path. So I think I'm onto something there. So for new viewers, this is my fourth. I've lost count. It's my 4th episode, isn't it? Yes, it's my 4th episode of playing the Citadel of Chaos. And it's a very good book, I think. I think even before I finish playing it now, I would go out on a limb and say this is so far my favorite. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is maybe after I've finished the game. But there are several reasons why I think this is the best one so far. And also, you may notice I redecorated a little bit today, so I've got all my fighting fantasy books now. Here behind me, got a little pile of duplicates, you can't see them here. Out of the Pit, of course, over here. Excuse me. And I changed my background a little bit as well, because I had to move my reel-to-reel player out of the way, so that's now over there. Got my red telephone in case there's a nuclear war and I have to call Moscow or Washington. Got my synthesizer here. Yeah, some bits and bobs. I moved my printer down on the floor as well back there, because sometimes it actually needs to be on the floor to print big things. And so keeping it on the shelf actually hampers me a little bit sometimes. Anyway, I haven't been printing much lately. That's a completely different story. Right, so before I get sidetracked completely, Citadel of Chaos, episode 4, I think. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it now, because I'm sort of quite confident I know roughly where to go. And I know that whatever happens is going to be interesting and exciting. And yeah, so I'll be back in a few moments after I've set up my game on the table, which I actually already had set up. But because I'm using 2 cameras again today, although I noticed last time my camera angle for my secondary camera to shoot myself wasn't very ideal, I'm going to move it a little bit today, see if that works better. So yes, let's get ready to play the Citadel of Chaos. Right, so here we are. You may notice I've zoomed in a little bit more today, and one of the reasons for that is I will not be using my map as much as I have on my earlier playthroughs, and the reason, of course, being most of it, or certainly most of the route that I am planning to take, has been mapped out now. So it will not require as much work on the map as my previous runs. Let's see, let's move that up a little bit. Okay, I'm not sure if that's ideal, but I'll try this one now, because I can't be looking at the shot when I'm actually needing it to sort of see where it is. I got my tea. Lovely. And I am ready again to play again, I think. Right, first my character sheet. So I'm going to set up my character sheet. So skill. Maybe I should move this camera back a little bit without getting too much of the tripod there. Let's see, and you can see they can see my other camera there. And this is how I do my overhead shots, by the way. I've got a tripod, and it's got a center column that can be reversed, and so it's hanging from underneath the tripod there. Okay. Okay, how's that now? A little bit further back. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit tricky. It's not ideal, this setup, because ideally I shouldn't need to have a tripod on my desk for this. That would have been perfect, but okay, I'll just... Looks like I'm sort of back where I started almost. Right. Right. I'll work with what I've got. Okay. So skill, stamina, luck, and magic. Let's put that there, and I'll put up the spells. So we've got creature copy, ESP, fire, fool's gold, levitation, luck, shielding, skill, stamina, strength, and weakness. And I'll do my number for those spells there. And I'll do my initial scores for my stats there. I was planning to make a proper character sheet, but maybe I'll make one and I'll put that up on my Patreon together with the map and the simulation files and things. So I've got a... of course, I can just say that right away now. Of course, my plans, every time I play one of these books, I will be putting whatever resources I make for the game available on my Patreon for all levels. So that will be the maps that I create in Twine, which is a free software to use, so anyone can use that. It will be my... If I make a character sheet, that would be included there as well. Any proper maps I make, of course, will be added there as and when. But so far, it's so quick to make the Twine maps, and it takes a long time to make the proper, more well-drawn out maps. So that might take a while. All my simulation files, of course, in BBC Basic, which is also free to use, will be available on my Patreon for anyone to have a look at if they want to analyze the game books, if they want to study it to see how it works, if they want to make their own game books, it might be a useful resource for them. Or just for fun. I mean, some people like analyzing things. I do, and certainly it's... I'm sure there are others that do as well. Right, so that said, I should start rolling for my scores now, and I have to make sure now, because I notice I'm a little bit off center from where I'm usually sitting. See, my camera is tilted a little bit. Oh, hang on. I thought I had my camera set up right now, but I think it needs to just go a little bit that way. Okay. Earl Grey, by the way. Maybe I'll make a video one time about how to brew Earl Grey perfectly. Lots of people do not know how to do that, including, or perhaps, well, lots of cafes and coffee shops. Coffee shops have no clue, of course. Cafes don't usually know either. So probably for sort of public service, I should make a video about that. Right. So, too much aside talking today. Okay, so skill, I'll start with my skill, which is 12. Okay. I'm not sure how important skill is in this game, actually, because there aren't that many battles. And some of the battles you fight, you're able to creature copy, which means that you create a copy of the monster you're fighting, and the copy fights the monster first. Or you're able to use weakness, which means the monster you're fighting becomes weaker and easier to beat, regardless of what skill you have. So, yeah. Anyway, stamina. 22. Luck. That's 8. That's quite a low luck score, but yeah. And magic. 8 plus 6 is 14, which means I have 14 spells to choose from. And if you remember from my first gameplay here, I actually read through all the spells. Now, the thing about the spells, an interesting thing about the spells, is that they are not 100% reliable. Even if you use the right spell at the right time, it may not work exactly the way you intended. And sometimes you might think that casting a certain spell is a good idea, and then it turns out it isn't. Sometimes if you cast a spell, it doesn't make a difference at all. You just wasted a spell. I quite like the magic system here. It's a very simple system, but it's very effective. And also I'm quite impressed how streamlined it is into the game book as well. So I think Steve Jackson's done a brilliant job of this, and I'm still very interested to see how he's done it in sorcery, because I know that is a bit different. It's sort of an evolution of the same idea. So spells. Because I have been through a few things now where I know I need some spells. Weakness was very useful. So I'm thinking I should have at least 2 of those, maybe 3. I'll put up a tentative 3 there. I know there are a few cases where shielding is very useful. I should have at least 1 of those. Levitation is very useful. I forgot to put an illusion here. That would have been a disaster, wouldn't it, if I forgot to have illusion spells. Illusion is very useful, maybe 2 of those. Fool's Gold seemed useful. ESP, maybe 2 of those. I'm going to get up to more than 14 now, and then I have to creature copy 2 of those. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Only 2 left. But shielding, yeah. Weakness, strength. I don't know. It seems almost every time I've used it, I've not really needed it so much. Stamina. Maybe. Okay, so if I take down weakness to maybe 2. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 2 more. A fire. A luck, maybe. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No skill, no strength. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm happy with that. It may not be the perfect combination. I don't know yet, because the thing is, I've played through the game now to the door behind which I can only presume is the actual chamber where I find Baltus Dyer himself. So whatever challenges are coming up when I meet him, I don't know yet. By all accounts, he is a powerful man. Right, so that's me. My luck isn't very good. That might kill me at some point, but we'll see. There doesn't seem to be that many luck tests in this one. Ooh. Somebody commented on my video and said you're doing 14 luck tests in this game. I've hardly done any, so anyway. Right, so my map, my messy little but highly useful map. Oops, that's upside down. You don't want to put the map upside down, then you have no idea where you're going, and you might end up somewhere else entirely. So there we are. I shall begin my quest in my game and just double check now everything is working. The sound is recording. I have been making videos sometimes and I forgot to put the sound on. And I have to do the whole thing over again. Right. Okay. Let's over a little bit this way. Here, maybe. Yeah. How's that now? Okay, I need to point it up a little bit. Up more, like so. Oh, okay, I'll just have to live with this tripod here, I think. Right, let's get started. So no more faffing Right, using magic. Okay. So I'll start with the background story. So here we are. The lawful good folk of the Vale of Willow have lived for some 8 years in awe and fear of the... Hang on. I just had an idea. What if I move my secondary camera over here? Might that work better? Without bumping too much into everything here now. Let's see. Because I'm sort of sitting a little bit pointed this direction normally, so... Okay. How is that now? I think that might be better, actually. What do you think? Yeah, so because that's where my eye tends to go towards... Yeah, okay. The lawful good folk of the Vale of Willow have lived for some 8 years in awe and fear of the demi-sorcerer Baltus Dire. In awe, since his power is truly awesome, and in fear ever since word leaked from his domain that his ambitious plans of conquest were to commence with the Vale itself. A faithful half-elf sent on a spying mission to the Black Tower came galloping back to the Vale 3 days ago with a frantic warning. From within the caverns of Crag and Rock, Baltus Dire had recruited an army of chaotics and was preparing them to attack the Vale within the week. The good King Solomon was a man of action. Messengers were sent throughout the Vale that day to prepare defences and to summon the menfolk to action. Riders had also been sent to the great forest of Yore to warn the half-elves that lived there and to make an appeal for allied forces. King Solomon was also a wise man. He knew well that the news would inevitably reach the Grand Wizard of Yore, a white sorcerer of great power, who lived deep within the forest. The wizard was old and would not last through a battle of this magnitude, but he schooled a number of young magicians, and perhaps one of his students in the magic arts with courage and ambition would aid the king and his subjects. You are the star pupil of the Grand Wizard of Yore. He has been a difficult master, and your own impatience has often got the better of you. Perhaps a little too headstrong, you left immediately for Solomon's court. The king welcomed you enthusiastically and explained his plan. The battle could be avoided without bloodshed if Baltus were to be assassinated before his army could be amassed. The mission ahead of you is extremely perilous. Baltus Dire is surrounded in his citadel by a multitude of appalling creatures. Although magic is your strongest weapon, there will be times when you must rely on your sword to survive. King Solomon has briefed you on your mission and warned you of the dangers that lie ahead. One way through the citadel is the best for you to take. If you discover it, you will be successful with a minimum of personal risk. It may take you several trips to find the easiest way through. I'm getting closer, but it can take me several trips. It's a bit strange, of course, that King Solomon is telling you this, because, I mean, it's a bit sort of breaking the fourth wall. In a way. You leave the Vale of Willow on the long hike to the Black Tower. At the foot of the hill of Crag and Rock, you can see its outline against the dark sky. Now turn over, and I keep looking up now because that's where I'm used to my camera line being. And of course now it's my eye line is down here. Right, so paragraph 1. The sun sets. As twilight turns to darkness, you start your climb up the hill towards that forbidding shape silhouetted against the night sky. That is, of course, the tower here, as we can see on the cover. The Citadel is less than an hour's climb. Some distance from its walls, you stop to rest, a mistake, as it seems a fearful spectre from which there is no escape. The hairs on your neck prickle as you look towards it. But you're ashamed of your fears. With grim resolve, you march onwards towards the main gate, where you know guards will be waiting. You consider your options. You have already thought about claiming to be a herbalist. Come to treat a guard with a fever. You could pose as a trader or an artisan, perhaps a carpenter. You could even be a nomad seeking shelter for the night. As you ponder the possibilities and the yarns you will have to spin to the guards, you reach the main tray leading up to the gates. 2 lanterns burn on either side of the portcullis. You hear muffled gruntings as you approach, and 2 misshapen creatures step forward. On the left stands an ugly creature with the head of a dog and the body of a great ape, flexing its powerful arms. Its opposite number is indeed its opposite, and with the head of an ape and the body of a large dog. This latter guard approaches you on all fours. It stops some meters in front of you, raises itself on its hind legs, and addresses you. Which story will you opt for? Will you pose as a herbalist? Will you claim to be a tradesman? Or will you ask for shelter for the night? Well, I've gone with herbalist every single time now. I haven't had to change my story, and I will stick to it. And one of these days, they're going to I go to this paragraph and they're going to say, "Oh, are you the same herbalist that came last night and the night before?" The ape dog asks to see your herbs. Luckily, you grabbed a few handfuls of weeds on your way and you show them. Cocking its head to one side, the creature eyes you suspiciously. It asks you for the name of the guard you have come to treat, something you hadn't planned on. Well, I had, of course, because I've played it before. You quickly think of a name to bluff the creature with, and again, my first choice was one that worked, so that is a plan I will stick to. And I'm going to say Blag, which is 394. And I actually did use some kind of deductive logic to find the name Blag because I thought it sounded a bit sort of bland and not very memorable and very simple, and it sort of seemed like the kind of name that should work. The other ones are more memorable, and therefore, if they're wrong, you're more likely to be found out. I think Steve Jackson actually likes you to think logically in his game books. So, yes, logical thinking might win the day. The creatures look at each other as if the name sounds familiar, but they can't quite place it. You quickly add that he is on the first floor watch. They shrug and eventually decide you may be telling the truth. The ape dog summons a gatekeeper who eventually appears to let you in. Turn to 251. You walk forward into a spacious open courtyard surrounded by large walls. Various lights are burning and groups of figures are shuffling around in the darkness. In the center of the courtyard is a large monument of some kind, perhaps a fountain. Looking across the yard, you can see what appears to be the main entrance to the tower. Will you creep around the wall towards the tower? Still haven't tried that. Stride boldly across the courtyard? Haven't tried that either. Or tiptoe through the shadows towards one of the groups? I know that is the correct one, most likely because I get essential items. So I'm going to go 321. I'm actually quite impressed when you think about it, because that means my first 3 choices probably were the best ones. Quite happy with that. Anyway, cautiously and keeping well out of sight, you creep through the darkness around the edge of the courtyard. There are 2 groups of creatures in front of you. To the right, you can see 2 human-like figures talking under a torch fastened to the wall. To the left, a group of 4 creatures of varying shapes and sizes are sitting around a fire, eating. Will you approach the 2 by the torch, or the group around the fire? So I will go to the group around the fire. I can still talk to the ones by the torch later. So here we have the fire. Nice little picture here. A motley crew sit around the fire. A warty-faced orc is handing out scraggy chunks of half-cooked meat to the others. A snarling dwarf with green skin is complaining about the size of his piece, while 2 scruffy goblins, a man and a woman, are cuddling each other. They giggle and laugh, and every so often she slaps his ugly face, causing more merriment. As you approach, they stop and turn around to look at you with unwelcoming faces. They sneer at your neat appearance, and the female goblin whispers some comment to her mate. In front of the dwarf, you can see an open box. You can just make out a vial of liquid within it. Will you sit down with them around the fire, or ask them whether they may whether you may join them. I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to sit down. I know that works. So they are taken aback by your audacity. Rather than waiting for them to talk, you act aggressively and demand to know how to get into the Citadel. They point to the main entrance, obviously a little bewildered by a confident manner, and whisper amongst themselves. The orc tells you that you will need the password scimitar to get in. You ask about the vial of liquid within the box, whereupon they get agitated. Will you press them for more information about the vial? Leave them and head for the 2 men you saw earlier, or press on towards the Black Tower. I will ask about the vial. So the creatures become suspicious as you press them for information. The dwarf springs to his feet brandishing a wooden club, while the goblin and the orc grab swords and glare at you. The goblin's mistress shrieks and steps back several paces as the others advance towards you. You will have to fight them. You may use a magic spell, levitation or illusion, or you may draw your sword and fight. So in this case, I don't think a spell will make a difference. Did I try both? I certainly tried one of them and that didn't work. So I'm going to fight them, and I do have a good chance of winning now because my skill is quite high. So here we have it, our first battle. So I am 12-22. I'm anything but lucky, really. That's my only Achilles heel this time is my lack of luck. So I'm fighting them in order. So no 2 creatures. Actually, I still haven't seen a place in this book where you fight 2 monsters at the same time. So yeah. Although there was a fancy version where you fight someone else together with someone, but that was not using the normal rules of 2 versus 1 combat. Right, so for new viewers, I'll just run through this very quickly. Combat, you got a skill and a stamina score for who you're fighting. You got your own skill and stamina score. First round of combat, you roll 2 dice for your opponent. You add it to their skill. So the first one I'm fighting now is a skill 5. So I'm rolling 2 dice. He rolls a 10. So that is a total of 15. You add them together. And I've got 12. And I roll 2 dice. And I roll 11. I get 23 when I add them together. The one with a higher number is the one who injures his opponent and does 2 damage to his stamina score. So he is now down to 4 stamina. I usually like to call it hit points because that's what I'm used to from lots of role-playing game systems, including Dungeons and Dragons, one of the main inspirations for the fighting fantasy gaming system. So next round, he rolls a 9, so that's 14. I roll a 6, so that is 18. And he is down to 2. And I'll just do this quickly. 4 and 5, so he is dead. Next one has a skill of 6. He rolls a 9. I roll a 7. That is... He is getting hit again. Oh, he rolled an 8 and I rolled a 2. So that means... So 8, that is 14. 2 is 14. That's a draw and nobody injures anyone that round. He rolls a 5. I roll a 4. He is dead. Next one got a skill of 5. He rolls a 3. I roll a 7. Of course, in this one I got a huge advantage with my skill being so much higher. So they don't really stand much of a chance at all. If you win, turn to 235. You may escape. That's another thing, of course. In a battle, very often it says escape, and it comes in italics just to show you it's as well part of the official game rules. And one of the interesting things about escape, of course, that you need to remember is every time you escape, you lose 2 stamina because your opponent gets a free attack against you. Very easy to forget, but important to remember. But I won, and I go to 235. And here it says, afraid that the commotion may have attracted attention, you peer out into the darkness. Nothing seems to be happening. Going through the pockets of the creatures, you find 8 gold pieces. So 8 gold. A copper-colored key, and a jar of dark, creamy ointment. You may take any two of the, of course, two of these, yes. I'm not taking the gold. Can only choose 2 out of those 3 items. So 8 gold is 1 item in this case. A copper-colored key is 1 item, and a jar of dark ointment is 1 item. 1 item, not ointment item. Item ointment. Yes, it's easy to get those mixed up. So creamy ointment is 1 item. So I'm taking the copper key. I know it'll be useful at least one place later, and I'm taking the ointment. Not taking the gold. Turning to the vial of liquid, you can make out an inscription on the lid written in runes. Your heart leaps as you realize that this is a potion of magic with a K. Potion of magic. I do like magic with a K. And it's very rare. Within the vial is enough liquid for 2 doses. And each has the effect of raising your magic score by 1 point, allowing you the energy to use 1 extra spell. You may take this potion with you to use after using any spell. When you drink the potion, you need not cross that spell off your list. This is very useful. And I think, just judging roughly from the number of spells that you cast through the games I've played, that maybe if you have your minimum magic score, let's say you roll 2 1s and you got 8 magic points, this might still be enough to actually get through the game and win if you have the right spells. I'm just guessing wildly now. Because I think that this game is possible to win with minimum scores. I think actually the abilities might make less of a difference than your choice of spells and your choice of route through the Citadel. But I will get back to that when I do my analysis later. But if that is the case, which I think it is, I think this might actually be another reason why this is one of the best books and why I think it's my favorite so far. But we'll get back to that at some point. Because as you know, I've so far my shortcomings in getting through the game hasn't been my abilities at all. It's been whether I had a spell or not, basically. Or a combination. So it's to do with either the route through the Citadel or the spells. Right, so potion of magic, yes. So remember that this potion will only work twice. That's fine. Now you may carry on either towards the Citadel or over to the 2 men talking by torchlight. Now, I've been talking to these 2 guys every single time I've been here, and you do get a dagger from them, which is an advantage in combat, of course. But the thing is, do I actually need that advantage? Because now I've got 12 skill and 22 stamina, and I haven't had any need for it before. So I'm just wondering if I should just not bother. Should I go and get it? I'll just go and get the dagger as well, just because I still don't know whether I'll need something there for the end, for the boss combat with Bolter's Dire. I'll just go over to them as well. So let's see, 269. The 2 men are dirty and unkempt. As you approach, you can hear them arguing loudly about the price of a dagger. The taller of the 2 is obviously trying to sell the dagger to the other. He argues that the dagger is enchanted and is worth more than the other is willing to pay for it. As you come closer... Oh, by the way, did I... was my pad out of eye shot here when I did my combat? I can't remember now. Anyway, I'll watch out for that next time. Sorry if it was. Right, as you come closer, he grabs you by the arm and asks you for your opinion on the price of the weapon. What will you say, 5, 8, or 10 gold pieces? So, I'll say 8 gold pieces. And the tall man agrees and persuades the shorter man that this is a fair price. The short man mumbles and curses, offering 6, then 7 gold pieces, but the price has been fixed at 8. You may, if you wish, offer the tall man 8 gold pieces yourself, although you will have to conjure up some fool's gold to give to him. If you want to do this, use up a Fool's Gold spell and turn to 15. If not, the short one eventually agrees to the price, buys the dagger and leaves. I'm using a Fool's Gold spell. Doesn't seem like I need that later. Famous last words, but yes. So I get the dagger. The dagger is indeed a work of art and was undoubtedly worth a fair price. The blade is made of shiny metal. Ooh, I haven't seen these guys yet. Looks like the beginning of Macbeth. Dagger is indeed a work of art and was undoubtedly worth a fair price. The blade is made of shiny metal and the hilt is a peculiar green leather with inlaid stones. You read an inscription which tells you that it is an enchanted throwing dagger which never misses. In a future combat, you may use this dagger. So there we are. I've got the dagger. Magic. Okay, so it will automatically inflict 2 stamina points of damage without the need to roll for attack strength. But you may use it only once. You put the dagger into your belt and set off towards the Citadel. Go to 245. You set off towards the Citadel. Although the night air is calm, you hear a faint whistling which rapidly gets louder and louder, until a strong gust of wind suddenly hits you with such a force that you can barely move against it. And that is this charming whirlwind of a creature here. You shield your eyes until the blast retreats slightly, and as you open them, you see a ghostly female face inside what appears to be a living whirlwind. She mouths words which you cannot make out, but some seconds after she has finished talking, the message reaches you. She seems to find your appearance offensive and is challenging you with words of abuse. You grab at your sword, but she laughs. Well, I don't think a sword would work much against her anyway. Will you ignore her and continue? Talk to her, or use your magic to see her off? I'm just going to ignore her. That seemed to work well last time. Using magic works too, but there is no point, I think. She is deeply insulted by your indifference. The whirlwind rises once more, and this time she knocks you off your feet. You try crawling forward, but she positions herself in front of you in whichever direction you turn. You will have to try to outwit her. But how will you start? Make your anger obvious to her, or talk to her to try to pacify her? Well, I will make my anger obvious, because that worked last time. And I'm a bit headstrong, so, I mean, this really is in my character that was established in the introduction, isn't it? Yes, I'm supposed to be a bit like that. She laughs again and tells you she likes to see people getting angry. In good humor, she accompanies you for several meters. Conversation is difficult. She sees something in the distant shadows and nips off to investigate, allowing you to advance to the Citadel's main entrance. Turn to 218. In front of you is a large wooden door, firmly locked. You may either knock 3 times for the guard, or use a strength spell. I'm going to knock for the guard. Thank you. Mr. Rhino here. The door opens, and a large brutish creature steps out. It has a sharp horn in the middle of its forehead, and its skin appears to be armor-plated. It grunts to ask you what you want and demands the password before letting you in. Do you know the password? I do indeed. I don't have to bluff. Well, that seemed to work too. Is the password Scimitar, Ganges, or Kraken? Well, it's Scimitar. You know that, so you learned that from the people around the campfire. The creature grunts and opens the door to let you in. Turn to 177. You are in a narrow hallway. This continues for several meters and ends in a doorway. Halfway along the passage you can see an archway where some steps lead downwards. Will you go forwards to the door or creep down the steps? I'm going to go to the door. I think that is the only way that leads me to the right place I know that I need to go. Right. You try the handle of the door and it turns, opening into another hallway. Some distance along the passageway turns to the right and ends shortly in another door. On this door is a sign which reads, "Please ring for butler." A rope, evidently the bell, hangs by the door. Will you ring as instructed, or try the door handle? If you try the door handle, there's an alarm and some ruckus ensues. I will ring the bell because that seems to work rather well. After several moments, the door opens slowly, and a hunchbacked, misshapen creature with rotten teeth, ragged hair, and tattered clothes stands in front of you. Oh, they don't make butlers like they used to, do they? Yes, sir. What can I do for you? Growls the half-human creature. I am expected, you reply, and walk past him through the door with confidence. He is a little bewildered by your manner and stammers, not knowing whether to challenge you or not. Which way to the reception room, you demand? Well, that's not. You're not supposed to stammer, that's he. Which way to the reception room, you demand? He squints at you through one eye and motions towards the left fork in the passageway a short distance ahead. Would you believe him and take the left fork? Turn to 243. Or do you distrust this shifty creature and take the right fork? Turn to 2. It is the left fork, I think, indeed, is the correct. It's been a while since I looked at my map now, but I am quite sure that is, yes, that's the one that leads to the place I want to go. I just remember there is actually one thing. Yesterday when I played this and I said that I knew 3 essential items, there's actually a small chance that there is another way to get past the Hydra, because I didn't check out the other items there. So there is a small possibility, but I'm still banking on the fact that this most likely is the right one that I'm thinking of. I'll get to that when I get to that. Anyway, 243. My theory remains... Oh, big bumblebee on my window. Well, it went away now. The passage runs along for several meters and then ends at the door. You listen at the door and can hear a deep, heavy breathing coming from inside, as if some large creature were asleep in there. Cautiously, you try the handle and the door opens. Just inside, although the room is dark, you can see that a very large goblin-like creature is asleep on the floor. You may either risk tiptoeing into the room, turn to 352, or you may return to the fork and try the right-hand passage. And I'm going to tiptoe into the room. To meet this charming fella. Here. You tiptoe into the room. The room is gloomy and the air is damp. A crude wooden post is nailed to one wall with several hooks on it. And there are 2 doors in the far wall leading onwards. On the post, hanging on the wall, is a makeshift mirror. Excuse me. Oh. A bit thirsty. But as your torch lights up the mirror, its reflection is thrown across the eyes of the sleeping giant, who grunts and stirs. One eye opens, then another, and seeing you, it springs to its feet. It grabs an axe, which it was using as a pillow, and quickly undoes the leather sheath to reveal a sharp bronze head. It's quite tough, isn't it? I mean, really tough guys. They use axes as pillows. This giant creature is a gark. Large and brutish, garks are half goblin, half giant, bred by master sorcerers for their aggressive character. Although somewhat stupid, they're rather tough beasts with a warlike nature. Will you make a dash for the doors? Draw your sword, apologize for disturbing the creature, or prepare to use a spell? I'm going to prepare to use a spell, because I think that's what I did, isn't it? Last time... I think that's what I did last time, yes. You may use either a Fool's Gold spell, a creature copy spell, an ESP spell, or a weakness spell. And I know weakness works, so I'm going to do that to 1 weakness spell. And I turn to 152. I probably would have beaten it rather easily without weakness too, now I come to think of it, because I was so lucky with my skill roll. You cast your spell and the creature stops in its tracks, not quite sure what has happened to it. With some effort, it picks up its axe and comes towards you, but is evidently not such a strong adversary as before. You draw out your sword to finish the gark off. Yes, we can see the dice here. Great. So I've got 5. Is this guy here? He rolls 5. I roll a 5. He's down to 3. He rolls a 9. I roll a 5. He's down to 1 hit point. And finally, he rolls a 6. And I roll a 5. And he is dead. If you defeat the creature, turn to 180. The Great Gark lies dead on the ground. You wait for a minute to see whether the commotion will attract any guards, but all appears to be safe. You go through the creature's effects, but find little of value. Inside a pouch strung around its waist are 6 gold pieces. So we've got 6 gold. And an ornate hairbrush. You may take these with you if you wish. You decide to continue onwards. Turn to 99. Will you take either the left-hand door or the right-hand door? Now, this is where I remember taking the left-hand door. I got into the gaming room, which is where you can play some really risky games and get some fancy rewards. But you didn't get anything essential there. So I am thinking, because this is one of the few spots on the what I deem to be the most likely correct route where I haven't explored yet, and therefore there should be something essential for me if I go right. And this is where I will need to do a little bit of mathing maybe as well, if I can be bothered. There's not much room to do mathing now. It just turns into an absolute mess. The door opens into a short passageway, which is paved with small stones. A short distance further on, an ornately carved door marks the end of the passageway. But just before the door, a side passage leads off to the left. You approach the door, listening for any signs of life inside. As your hand touches the handle, a voice says, "Do not knock, just enter," from inside. Will you enter the room as instructed? Turn to 132. So 132. Enter. Or will you decide against this room and take the passage leading off to the left? Turn to 306. So left. I'm going to enter the room, I suppose. 132. You enter a room which is evidently a library of some sort. Books stretch from ceiling to floor on each wall, and several tables and chairs are lined down the center of the room. At the far end sits a dark-skinned man who looks up at you from a book over narrow eyeglasses. Behind him is a door. Yes? What is it? He snaps. Oh, well, I'll try that again. Yes? What is it? He snaps. Which books are you looking for? You scan the various shelves, which are labeled. Would you ask him for biographies of Baltus Dyer, Secrets of the Black Tower, Creatures of the Kingdom of Crag and Rock? I think I'll take Secrets of the Black Tower for $100, please. Yes. Secrets of the Black Tower. Oh, hang on. Yeah. Can't be bothered to map this out. I'll take Secrets of the Black Tower and see what secrets they are. He indicates a section on the shelves, and you take a book to one of the tables to read through it. The book is most enlightening, tracing the history of the Citadel, the Black Tower. The Black Tower was built by Baltus Dyer's grandfather. As it became a sanctuary for the forces of evil, law and order gradually made way for chaos as the monstrous creatures battled their way up the power hierarchy. Dyer's grandfather eventually found it necessary to protect himself from his minions by setting up various protective traps between the creatures and his own dwellings. So that sort of explains why it's so hard to get to Baltus Dyer, isn't it? He's not trying to protect himself from outsiders. He's trying to protect himself from his own minions. So they don't usurp power from him, I guess. Yes, most notable of these being the Doom Pit Trap and a magical combination lock. Doom Pit Trap, is that the Is that the one with the treasure chest in the middle, maybe? And the magical combination lock on the door to his own room. The combination of the lock is 217. Yes. Number 217. My theory seems to work. You read further about the various secret passageways that permeate the Citadel. You may then choose either to ask the man for the section on Baltus Dire, or the section on Creatures of Crag and Rock, or you may leave the room through the door at the far end. So that's 217. Yes, I've got the combination. Baltus Dire. I want to read about Baltus Dire because I don't know anything about him yet. Maybe he's got a weak spot. He's got an Achilles heel. He points to a section just above the floor, which you peruse. Eventually, you choose one volume and settle down to read through it. Baltus Dire is apparently third in a line of sorcerer warlords ruling over the Black Tower and the kingdom of Crag and Rock. He rose to power after the death of his father, Kragan Dire, some years ago. The Dyers have been masters of black sorcery for generations, but their strength and power last during the night time only. Oh. Sunlight is like a poison to them. That's a bit weird. So they're almost like vampires then, in a way. So, okay, that's sunlight is like a poison to them. Okay. Baltus, so if I could drag him out into sunlight, maybe that would work. This is the middle of the night now, that wouldn't work, would it? Shortly after his father's death, Baltus Dire married the Lady Lucretia, herself a black sorceress, and since that time they have ruled together over the kingdom of Crag and Rock. As you finish the book, you notice that the librarian is holding his hand to his ear, apparently listening to something. He glances up at you, quizzically. You may either look for another useful book, which may aid you on your quest, or attempt to leave the library through the door behind him. Listening for something? Okay. Should I look for another useful book, maybe? Listening for something. Is he listening to guards coming or something? Maybe I should leave. I'm a bit too curious. I want to see if there's anything else I can find out here. I've been given two very useful pieces, possibly, of information. I don't know if it's useful. I don't know. Would Steve Jackson have put that in without that being useful? Because I know he likes leaving clues in his books, sometimes very subtle. So sunlight is like a poison to them. Yeah. Anyway, 84. I'm going to 84. As you study the shelves, you hear a commotion behind you. You wheel round in time to see orc-like... the guards were coming. Orc-like creatures, armed and on guard, materializing one after the other behind you. They advance and surround you. The tallest one moves his face close to yours and blows a puff of breath straight into your eyes. The room spins and you slump to the ground unconscious. Turn to 234. Oh dear. Okay, so... so you sort of end up... if you remember my first playthrough, I ended up not being arrested, but actually just falling into this room. This is the prison cell. You wake up in a dirty room with rough walls cut into... Do I have the right spell for this one now? Well, we'll find out. With rough walls cut into the rock, iron bars in the window and the door confirm your suspicion that you're in a prison cell of some sort. There is not much you can do but sit on the straw mattress in one corner until someone appears. An hour or so later, you hear a shuffling noise outside. Looking through the bars in the door, you can see a lizard-like creature shuffling down the corridor, carrying a mug and bowl. The beast has two heads, which talk to each other as he walks. Its skin is grey and scaly, and a long tail follows it up the passage. It stops at your door and pushes the bowl and mug through a small opening into your cell, then shambles off to sit at a table across the hall. You have been given bread and broth. Will you eat and drink, or will you call out to this creature, a calicorb? To take your food, turn to 3 nights. Do I need to eat? Because I know eating gives you a bit of stamina back. I haven't lost any stamina, so I don't need to eat. Thank you very much. So I'll shout to the calicorb. That's the other option. Seems a strange option, but The creature is not very talkative, but you do discover that you are in the dungeons beneath the Black Tower, and you will probably never be released unless you're given to the Ganges for sport. When you question him about Baltus Dire, he goes silent. You'd better try a spell to get you out of this prison. And there must be some way out of here, said the Joker to the thief. All along the Black Tower. Right. 193. Choose a spell. Now, I did try ESP last time, and it looked like he was only interested in eating snakes and being lazy or something like that. He was interested in gold? No, I don't think so. ESP usually is very good at telling you whether somebody is interested in gold or not, isn't it? Illusion. I should try an illusion on him. I'll try an illusion. So I'm going to 35. So I'm casting illusion. I crossed it off my character sheet, which I just realized is out of shot again. You concentrate on your illusion. You can either convince him that he is being attacked by an enemy, or make yourself disappear in the hope that he will come looking for you. Okay. So, shall I? Okay, so if he, yeah. I'm going to try convincing him that he's being attacked by an enemy. See if that works. As your spell takes effect, you see a small mouse run towards the table. You curse as you realize that the spell cannot have worked properly. A mouse? Oh, but hope returns as one of the Calicomb's heads sees the mouse and looks horrified. The other head suddenly notices it, and both throats shriek together. That must be quite a sound. The creature jumps up on the table, and the Calicomb screams in terror as the harmless little mouse approaches, sniffing fastidiously at the ground on the way. You let the Calicomb suffer for some moments, and then call out that you will get rid of the mouse for him if he will release you. He agrees quickly and throws you the keys. Oh my, you must be really scared of the mouse then. You let yourself out, grab your sword, which was leaning against the wall, and set off down the passageway. A safe distance away, you break your spell, and the mouse disappears. Turn to 174. Okay, that's quite something else. I think I'll need to reward myself with a sip of water for that. The passageway twists and turns, eventually ending in a flight of stairs going upwards. You climb the stairs and find yourself in a short passage ending at a dead end. As you examine the wall, you discover a short lever, which you pull. The rock face ahead opens slightly and closes behind you as you walk through. You are now standing in front of a door, which is locked. Will you try to break it down, or will you cast a strength spell? Oh, I didn't have a strength spell this time. I'll have to try to break it down then. 268. As you hit the door, the wood cracks a little but does not give. You try it again, and this time the wood splits down the middle. This looks like a familiar paragraph. Have I been here before? You break your way through into the room behind it, turn to 210. Oh, hang on. This is where you get when you go downstairs instead of going to that door with the butler. Okay, so that's not too far off then. So we get to this annoying little creature. You now stand in a large round room. It is lit by a single torch fixed into one wall. There is no furniture in the room, save for a rough wooden table and chair in the center. Hovering above the table, fast asleep, is a very small man dressed in a green shirt and pantaloons. He cannot be more than a meter tall, and you cannot believe that he is still asleep after your noisy entrance. You hear a crack and turn to your right in time to see a small catapult fire a missile of some sort straight at you. It is going to hit you unless you use a shielding spell. If you use this spell, turn to 192. If you cannot or will not, turn to 359. And I remember what this missile is. I will not use a shielding spell. Thank you very much. I'll be fine. You You try to duck, but cannot avoid the full impact of the missile, which hits you on the forehead and splatters all over your face. You brace yourself, waiting perhaps for an acidic reaction to take place, but the mushy liquid merely drips off your face onto the ground. Cautiously, you test it, first with your finger, then with your tongue. You have just been hit by a ripe tomato. Not even overripe, but a ripe tomato. You turn to face the sleeping figure once more. Turn to 29. So it's just a tomato, nothing to be scared of, nothing to waste a shielding spell on. Cautiously, you approach a little man. As you get close, a single eye opens and looks you straight in the face. A wide grin spreads between the creature's ears and he disappears. "Good morning to you," says a chirpy little voice behind you, and you swivel around to see him standing there, still grinning. "I'm O'Seamus, the leprechaun," he chuckles, and holds his hand out to you. He seems friendly enough. "I'm O'Seamus, the leprechaun." I'm not very good at the Irish thing. "O'Seamus, the leprechaun? I'm O'Seamus, the leprechaun?" Yeah, something like that. He seems friendly enough. Will you shake his hand and try to befriend him? Or draw your sword. Oh, shaking his hand. Yes, I did that last time. And shaking hands, really low track record in fighting fantasy games. 2 out of 2 times, not a good thing. Then again, draw my sword. Maybe shaking his hand is the lesser of 2 evils. I'll draw my sword because it's just a trickster, this guy, isn't he? You quickly unsheath your sword, pointing it towards the leprechaun. He throws a glance at the blade, and to your horror, it droops limply from the hilt, hanging downwards like a leather belt. It seems that you won't get too far acting aggressively. Perhaps you'd better ask him the way onwards. That's an illusion again, isn't it? He's an illusionist. 348. Ask the way onwards. 348. "Oh, I shouldn't go this way," says O'Seamus. "These are not pleasant paths. These 3 doors are the..." I suppose he means that you should be going back, I guess. "These 3 doors are the only ways onward. 2 of them are very dangerous, and the other is very smelly. On the opposite side of the room are 3 doors. One has a brass handle, one has a copper handle, and one has a bronze handle. Which will you choose?" Now, last time I chose a copper handle door. And if you ask his advice, you just get a sort of cryptic thing that doesn't really make any sense because you don't actually know which order the doors are in. And so you may as well just pick one at random, and I'll go with a bronze, maybe. Bronze. So that's 354, yes. You open the door and step into another room, glad to have left the annoying little creature behind. Turn to 188. A sudden intense flash of light bursts out in front of you. You shield your eyes and then rub them, but you cannot see. Panic hits you as you hear a low growling noise. Padded footsteps come... Actually, this is exactly the same thing that happened when I went through the copper door. Maybe it doesn't matter which door you pick then. Padded footsteps come closer, and oh yeah, of course, this is the real door. This is actually an illusion that he creates when you pick the first time. It's just his game. Padded footsteps come closer and you cry out in pain as this unseen creature roars and embeds its sharp teeth in your leg. So this is an illusion, which means that I don't need to use a spell because it won't make a difference. Draw your sword and slash out at the creature. Might as well, unless I injure myself. I'll try that anyway. You slash about madly with your sword, but cannot hit the creature. Either it is extremely quick, or it has no solid body for you to hit. Its teeth are now tearing at your flesh, and you can feel blood on your leg. You will have to protect yourself with your magic, or face certain death from this unseen creature. Will you cast a strength spell, a weakness spell, or if you cannot or will not cast either, turn to 280. Well, I know it's an illusion now, so I'm not scared of this thing. I suppose the first time you see this, you'd really want to use... Yeah, the printer was making a noise there. Want to use the spell. The creature is savaging you mercilessly, and you are powerless to prevent it. Your leg is covered in blood, and the pain is sickening. To no avail, you struggle with the unseen head. You are in agony. The creature lunges at your neck, and your last memory before losing consciousness is of its jaws closing around your throat. Turn to 323. Is this the end? Dum dum dum. You awake and look around. As your memory returns, you are amazed that you can see. Your leg feels tender but is uninjured. You hear a small chuckle coming from above you, and suddenly the whole thing makes sense. Floating above you is O'Shamus, now laughing loudly. The whole thing has been one big practical joke. You are enraged and leap to your feet, but as you glare at the funny little man rolling about in the air in hysterics, you can't help but see the funny side, too. Well, I suppose you're alive, so I suppose you can see the funny side of them, can't you? You chuckle, then giggle, then laugh loudly. For some time, the two of you roar with laughter until tears stream down your faces. When you are both able to control yourselves, you eventually settle down to chat. He is a pleasant little man. Before you leave, he says, "Indeed, you're a good sport. Your way ahead is fraught with danger, though, but perhaps these will help you." With a wave of his hand, a sword and a plate appear on the table. The sword is a magic battle sword and will add 1 point to the dice roll. So, sword +1. Not sure I'll need that, but yeah, okay. The plate is a silver mirror, so silver mirror. I know there are lots of places towards the end where you're asked if you want to use it, but I don't know if you need to use it. You may take this with you, but you will have to leave your old sword behind. Well, no big loss. And leave the room through. So, I know that leaving the room through the copper door was the... It seemed alright, didn't it? Wine cellar, was it? Should I go with the... I'll go with the copper door again, actually. I think I'll... The door opens and you enter a narrow corridor. You follow it for some time until you finally come to another door, this time a wide carved door with the inscription "Wine Cellar" set into it. You try the handle and it opens. Poking your head round the door, you can see rows and rows of racks full of bottles. Full of wine? The room is dimly lit by several... I like the question mark there. Full of wine? Your opening the door has caused a little bell to ring, and a figure is limping towards you up on one of the aisles. Would you draw your sword and prepare to defend yourself, or see what this fellow might have to say? Now, if I did ask what he had to say, he's tried to poison me with a truth serum wine. I'm wondering if I just prepare to defend myself, actually. As you draw your sword, the figure stops and takes something from the pouch at his waist. As he limps closer, you can see that this creature is a black elf, tall and thin, with arrowhead ears and one lame leg. In his hand, he holds a small device of some sort. He sees you, manipulates the device, and suddenly it becomes a stiletto sword in his hand. Would you advance and fight, or lower your sword and talk to him? I'm just going to fight this time. I want to fight this guy. You recognize the device as a pocket myriad, an enchanted gadget which can become any one of a number of weapons or useful artifacts. You're both clothed for battle. You may fight him with your sword. It's got a skill of 8 and a stamina of 4, but you may cast a spell. If you cast a weakness spell, his skill is reduced to 5. If you cast a creature copy spell, an identical black elf or the pocket myriad will fight the elf. If you wish to cast an illusion spell, turn to 399. If you fight him and win, turn to 272. I'm going to try an illusion spell. I'm a bit curious what that does, and I'm going to use one of my potion of magic doses to keep the illusion spell for later. Yes, that is what I will do. Okay. So I'm going to go to 399. Illusion spells are sometimes a bit fun, aren't they? Oh, you cast the spell. The elf approaches, and as he does so, the pocket myriad disappears from his hand. He stands before you apparently defenseless, nervously deciding whether to fight on or run. You can nip in quickly, nipping again, and cut him down. And he's gonna have got a skill 4 stamina for. Okay, that's That's not very fair, is it? Let's fight him. He rolls a 7, I roll 12. He rolls an 8 and I roll 4, and he is dead. I win and I go to 272. You go through his pockets and find 8 gold pieces. The pocket myriad has unfortunately been damaged in the fight, but you may be able to find some use for it, so I'm picking up a pocket myriad. Now you may either investigate the wine cellar or press on through it to the door at the far end of the room. So I'll investigate the wine cellar. The bottles and caskets contain hundreds of different types of wine. Some are exceedingly old and valuable. In one corner of the room there is a table laid out for sampling, with 2 bottles and glasses. Will you try a sample of the red wine or the white wine? Or will you try neither and press onwards? So, yeah. I know that if I did if he offered me wine, I was offered rosé, which had the effect of a truth serum, but I never tried the red wine or the white wine. Sounds a bit risky to me. I mean, it could be poisonous, it could do some nasty things. I think I'll skip that for now, and I'll check that out some other time if I feel like it. So at the far end of the wine cellar is a wooden door, which you try. It opens out into a passageway, which leads onwards for several meters. Turn to 367. Some way along the passage, you arrive at a 4-way junction. You take a path to the north, which eventually leads you to a large wooden door. You can hear nothing by listening at the keyhole. You try to open the door slowly and quietly, or charge the door down. This sounds familiar to me. I think I opened it slowly last time, and I think that probably is good to do now as well. The handle turns and you step into a dark room. Turn to 257. Oh yes, this fellow. You look around the room. It is lit only by your torch. Although a fairly large room, it has little furniture in it. Although a large boulder sliced flat resembles a table, and a smaller rock forms a sort of stool behind it. In one corner, a pile of rocks are held together with mud. You cannot imagine their purpose, although they support 3 wooden chests. Then you jump with fright as your torch lights up a large creature, seemingly made of rock itself, standing by a door. It is roughly human-shaped, although somewhat larger. Its eyes are staring straight at you, but you cannot be sure it's actually seeing you. Will you run for the other door, attempt to speak with the creature, or move slowly towards the boxes in the corner? Well, I'm a bit curious about the boxes. So I'm going to check out the boxes. At your first movement, the creature seems to break from its trance and steps towards you. Seeing this, you may either run for the door at the far end of the room, or make for the boxes and risk taking on this silent giant. I'm going to risk taking on this silent giant. The golem advancing towards you is the slow-moving creature, and you reach the boxes easily. You curse as you find they are all locked. As you struggle with the locks, the golem closes on you. You may draw your sword, cast a fire spell. Fire wouldn't work on rock. I'm sure that would be completely useless. Cast a creature copy spell. I'll forget about the boxes. I'm going to cast a creature copy and let him fight himself a little bit for my entertainment. A perfect copy of the golem forms in front of you. You're commanded to attack the real golem, which is now almost upon you. Excuse me. Resolve the battle of the golems. So 8, 10. So we've got 8, 10, 8, 10. So the real golem, or the other golem, rolls an 8. Mine rolls an 8. That's a draw. Oh, I'll just move my thing over here. He rolls an 8. Mine rolls a 3. So that is almost at first blood to him, but it's sort of first rock dust, I guess. He rolls a 4. Mine rolls an 11. So they are equal now. 9 versus 5. So it's quite easy when you have the same skill. It's just the rolls themselves. 9 versus 7. My creature copies, they don't do really that well, do they? 9 versus 6, and my copy is dead. I'll have to keep fighting though. But I do have a sword +1. I still have my magic dagger. So, okay, so first he tries to hit me. He rolls a 10, and I roll a 6, which is 7. So that means I oh, hang on. Yes, so that means I hit him because I got my +1 sword. He rolls 3. I roll a 6, and that is. He rolls 4. I roll 8. And he rolls a 6, and I roll a 6, which means he is now rock dust. Another one bites the rock dust. Doom, doom, doom. Right. Where am I? Yes. If you win, you may turn to 147. The golem crashes to the ground and breaks into pieces. With relief, you walk over to the boxes to examine them. Will you try to open the first box, the second box, or the third box? Now, last time I opened the first box, found a key, then tried the third box, that didn't work, so maybe they need to be opened in order. So I'm starting with the first box again. A bit curious about these. After some struggling, the box opens. Inside is a silver key. We try to use the key on the second box, the third box, or take the key. It's a key on the second box, which is what I didn't do last time. The key turns, and removing the lock, you open the box to find another key, this time cut in a glowing green metal. Will you try this new key on the third box, or leave the room with the 2 keys? Glowing, glowing, glowing green. Is there some kind of nuclear thing, nuclear device? When I open the third box, maybe I'll trigger a nuclear blast. I'm going to open the third box as well. The key turns. Oh, this is one of my favorite pictures from this book, by the way. Very nice. The key turns, the lock clicks open, and you look inside the box. Inside the box is a glass jar, and in this jar is a spider, but not a normal spider. This creature has the face of an old man. He's talking to you, but you can't make out what he's saying. A noise startles you, and you spin around to see that the door, the one you came through, is beginning to open. You put the jar in your bag and make for the other door. Turn to 237. So this is a spider jar that I've been hearing so much about at the end, because that was often an option for an item to use. I don't know if it's useful though, but yes. 237. I'm wondering if, because I'm wondering if it sort of doesn't make sense that, because I got into the cell now, and I found the other essential items in the sort of the other routes in the middle of the book now. And I'm thinking that the stuff that I get from this part of the Citadel probably won't be useful at the end, because it just seems like it's a bit too convoluted if that is the correct path. If you see what I mean. But I can't be sure. Because you were given a hint that your guards were coming in the library, so you were, and when you get a hint from Steve Jackson, usually you should follow it. So I'm thinking that the spider's jar probably should not be used, or doesn't need to be used. Anyway, you open the door and step forwards into a passageway which runs eastwards for several meters and then ends at the foot of a staircase. Climb the stairs and eventually find yourself in a narrow passageway. A short distance ahead, you can see an opening into a large, well-lit room. You press on forwards, turn to 169, and that is a familiar-looking paragraph because I think I've been there twice now, and that is the banquet hall, which is very nice. The room you are in is some sort of grand dining hall. A long table large enough to seat some 40 or 50 people stands in the center, edged with chairs. Various doors and passageways lead from the room, but you are particularly interested in two wide staircases which lead upwards to... So I suppose you're sort of directed quite a lot here because you're not allowed to enter these side rooms. Maybe I was running out of paragraphs. Oh, that's another thing about this book, by the way, and I'll probably say more about it when I get to my Aftermath episode at some point. Because of the magic system, all the encounters with monsters have several paragraphs added to them because of the magic. It's not just fight or escape or use an item. It's also, do you want to use this item, cast a spell, or escape, etc. So you've got all these extra things happening. And of course, it adds a lot of paragraphs to the book. So it still feels like a nice size of game, this. In fact, it feels... I don't know, something about it just feels more expansive than Caverns of the Snow Witch, even though the magic system should theoretically make it less so. But anyway. Right, where was I? Yes, so we have the room is empty. So we have... I know looking at the paintings reduces my stamina and increases my luck, because I've tried that before. Looking at the armor reduces my stamina. Taking the left-hand staircase is a trap, and the right-hand staircase is the one to go for. The stairs are well-worn and creak under your weight. Cautiously, you climb up to the balcony. Turn to 363. We're getting closer to the end now. Along the balcony are 3 doors. Will you try the door to the left, the door in the center, or the door to the right? I know the door to the left is the one where you get the golden fleece, which is what you need. And since it doesn't seem like you can get back to it once you go through the other rooms, or certainly not through the middle room. So I'm going to take the door to the left. Certainly the first time I did this, I went into the left room and I went into the middle room, and then I couldn't go back again. So the locked door is very strong and made of solid oak. It is unlikely you will break it down, but you may try. Otherwise, you could use a strength spell to smash it. The lock is copper, and you could try using a copper key if you have one. And I do have a copper key, so I don't have to use anything else. So the key turns, and the door opens. Turn to 292. Getting a bit sniffly now. It's the pollen again. The room is an elegant bedchamber, plushly decorated with fine lace and a fur carpet. In the center of the room is a large four-poster bed. Sitting up in the bed, evidently awakened by all the commotion, is a beautiful sylph-like woman with a long dark hair and deep piercing eyes. "What right have you in here?" she screams at you. With those words, her eyes turn blood red and 2 jets of liquid fire shoot from them directly at you. Will you create a shielding spell, leave the room quickly, or tell her you have a special gift for her? And oh yeah, that's the fleece there, actually on the bed. I have a special gift for her. Let's see. She blinks and the jets of fire disappear. What will you offer her? Silver mirror? No, doesn't work. Hairbrush or a jar containing a Spider-Man? Hairbrush. I'm going to try the spider. She looks at your offering and her eyes widen. "Let me see that," she commands. "Let me see that," she commands. You carefully advance towards her and hold out the brush. She snatches it and spends several moments admiring it. "This is indeed a work of art," she says, and she gets out of bed to try it in front of her mirror. As she brushes her hair with it, her hair takes on an unusual sheen, glimmering softly. She is fascinated with your gift, and now is your chance to leave unnoticed through a door in the far corner. You may try to take with you a golden fleece, which is lying on the bed. Test your luck. If you're lucky, you manage to snatch it quickly and can leave through the other door. If you're unlucky, you may test your luck again until you are finally lucky, or if luck is not with you, you may ignore the cumbersome thing and leave anyway. That's nice wording there. I want the golden fleece. I am testing my luck for the first time, and it's 8. I really want to make this, but I can try as many times as I want, and I do have a luck spell, so I can regain some luck if I need it. So testing my luck first time, it did not work. Testing my luck second time, rolling against 7, did not work. Testing my luck again against 6, did not work. I see what you mean. This is how you can end up with using lots of luck rolls, I guess, if your luck is low. Just down to 2. There's no point doing 2. So now I'm using my luck spell, and that regains me how much luck now, by the way? Half initial luck. So I'm back to 6. And I can use my potion of magic on the luck spell. So rolling against 6. No. Rolling against 5. No. And then I'm using another luck spell. So I'm back up to 8 again. And that is my last luck spell. Oh, I rolled an 8. Yes! That was... see, I'm very lucky. Oof. Yeah, so low luck is a bit risky, but you can make it in the end if you got a luck spell. Right. Now, I just realized that this thing is going to make the my simulation a little bit tricky because, well, I suppose I should sort of assume in my when I do my simulation that you can get a low luck and therefore will need a luck spell. And so prioritize having one around. Anyway, I got the golden fleece, which I will need. Well, I'm not sure actually still if that's the only way to get past the Hydra, but I know it works. I know it gets you past the Hydra. So there we are. I got the golden fleece in the end, and my luck is now down to 7. And I'm going to go to 140. Whew. Hard work. You leave the room and head down a short corridor. Some meters down, you find yourself at the foot of a staircase. This is a spiral staircase which leads right up into the Citadel tower. You climb the stairs cautiously and eventually arrive on a small landing with 2 doorways in front of you. Let's move my map out of the way here, because I'm on the second page now, of course. Will you take the left-hand door or the right-hand door? Now, the right-hand door, there was just the mix, which I didn't need to do anything with. It just stole all my gold, basically. The right-hand door. So I want to go the left door and head for the Ganges. So I'm going the left door, 25. The door opens, allowing you into a large circular room. You scratch your head quizzically. In the center of the room, you can see a small island surrounded by a wide trench, on which stands a chest locked with metal fastenings. The trench is too wide to jump and is very deep. Just inside the door is a length of rope. A door leads from the room opposite the door you came in through. Will you ignore the box, cast a strength spell, and pick up the rope? And I'm going to ignore this because it's such obviously a trap. And also it was described as a trap in one of the books I read in the library, so I'm going to ignore that completely. It's a trap for Ian Livingstones and things, isn't it? For the gold hunters, the ones who are seeking glory, fame, and to save the world, the true heroes. They ignore the treasure chests. Oh, did I look at the wrong paragraph now? Let's see. Ignore the box. 206. Yes. I looked at 205 there, and that was something else entirely. You leave through the door and find yourself at the foot of another spiral staircase leading up into the Black Tower. Climbing the stairs, you eventually come to a landing, where a single door is the only way onwards. You try the door, it opens slowly. And let's meet the Ganges again. You feel yourself sucked into the room. As if by magic, your torch flickers and dies. The room is pitch black. From nowhere yet everywhere comes a mocking laugh which fills the room. "Foolish adventurer," says another voice, which changes its tone from high to low as it speaks. "Welcome to the home of the Ganges. Unfortunately, it will be the last room you will ever see." "Ah, but of course you cannot see, can you? But we can see you, can't we, brothers?" And laughing voices come from all around you. Suddenly a ghostly white luminous face flies towards you. You recoil in horror, throwing yourself on the ground and begin to feel very frightened. So this is where we finally lose a little bit of this 1 skill point, 2 stamina points, and another luck point. So what can you do here? So we have fire spell, illusion spell, artifact, or draw sword. And I'm going to get into my backpack for the ointment, which it feels like a really, is it just me, or does it feel like a really long time since I began this game now? I think it's because I've been to so many locations this time. Because I managed to go into the middle bit, I think, and then I went into the cell, and then I went into that bit, and it just feels like I've done more than usual by this time. What will you pull from your backpack? A jar of ointment. I'm going to go straight for that. I'm not going to do any more faffing about. What is that? Demands the ghostly voice. You bargain with them. You will allow them to take the ointment if they will allow you through the room. You have no business with them. A ghostly hand appears from nowhere and tries to snatch the jar from your hand, but you whip it away quickly. "It is indeed the ointment of healing," you hear one of the voices say quietly. "It is indeed the ointment of healing." "We accept your offer," says a voice. "Leave the jar where you are and leave through this door." A door in the far corner glows softly. You do not trust them and take the jar with you to the door. As you open the door, you fling the jar across the room and leave quickly. Turn to 328. You close the door behind you and find yourself at the foot of yet another staircase, spiraling up into the tower. Climbing the stairs, you arrive at another balcony where a single door is the only way onwards. Trying the door, it opens easily, but as you push the door, a loud hissing noise comes from within. You step inside and turn cold as a huge 6-headed hydra snakes towards you over the bodies of its previous victims. Its 6 serpent-like heads dart at you, with vicious pointed teeth. You cower into the corner. What will you do? Draw your sword? No, not going to do that. Doesn't work. Use a creature copy spell. You need 3 of them. Not going to work. Use something from your backpack. Yes, I'm going to do 226. You may pull from your backpack any one of the following if you have collected them. So I don't know if the pocket myriad would work. But the golden fleece definitely works, and I'm going to go with the golden fleece. And it does seem so unlikely that I'll need the golden fleece for anything else because it's so entrenched in the mythology that is being alluded to here that I should use the golden fleece for the Hydra. So you draw out the skin and the creature hisses loudly. All its heads retreat and it remains still, watching you. And there is a door on the far side of the room and you slowly make your way towards it. Halfway across the room, a head darts out and snatches the fleece from your hands. But instead of attacking you, the Hydra slinks back into a corner. You move on to the door cautiously, turn to 229. You slam the door shut behind you. You follow a short, narrow passage which winds round and brings you to the foot of another staircase reaching right up into the apex of the Citadel. A sign on the wall reads, "Halt. None may pass but by order of Baltus Dire." You realize you are nearing your goal. Cautiously, you climb the stairs to the next landing, right up in the belfry of the Citadel. In front of you is a solid metal door. You try the handle, but the door is locked. You lift a small flap and can see small tumblers underneath. This is a combination lock, which can only be opened by those who know the combination. Do you know the combination? If so, turn to the section of the book with that same number. If not, you may either try to break the door or use a strength spell. Now, I just want to say something about this because I thought about this after I played last time. If you have a 3-digit combination with tumblers, and you're able to try, say, one combination a second, and on average, well, of course, in this case, there's only 400 possible ones, but let's just say there's 0 to, or 000 to 999. Even if you try one combination a second, you can go through all of them in about 16.5 minutes, which means that it's extremely easy to break unless there are other traps associated with it or some other extra mechanism that makes it more difficult. So yeah, not the most secure thing, but I suppose the Hydra actually sorts out the most of the visitors anyway. But I do have the combination. It is 217. But before I get there, I need to take a sip of water. Because this is quite hard work, and I need to hydrate a bit after the Hydra, and also before I meet Baltus Dyer. Right, so 217. I'm presuming that's the right combination now. You turn the handle as carefully as possible so as to surprise whatever awaits you. Slowly the door opens and you enter the room, which is dark and lit by a single flickering candle. This is quite good actually, because this paragraph 217 doesn't really reveal anything about the location you've just entered, which means if you're looking for this as a cheater, there are many legitimate reasons to cheat in fighting fantasy. If you're cheating and you want to find the paragraph without having found the number, you might miss it, but you will probably spot the paragraph where you're told the number. So yeah, you will find it if you want to cheat for it. So the door opens and you enter the room, which is dark and lit by a single flickering candle. Your blood drains as you see a 3-pronged trident heading directly for your throat. In a flash, you must decide what to do. Will you cast a shielding spell or try to sidestep the weapon? I've got a shielding spell. Yes, I will use a shielding spell, which is great for missiles, isn't it? That's what I was told at the magic school. In the nick of time, your spell stops the trident in mid-flight, horribly close to your neck. It drops to the ground. Turn to 374. Oh, now this is the man himself. As you compose yourself after your fright, you glance around the room. It is obviously some sort of military headquarters. Scrolls with strategic maps hang from the walls, or as do portraits of past generals. A bookcase in one corner holds hundreds of leather-bound volumes. Ornate drapes are drawn across a large window. If this is war room, then I'm sure there must be an easier way to get there. For his generals, I mean, so they don't get eaten on the way. Or maybe that's why you have portraits of them here. All these generals are the ones who were littering the floor in the Hydra room. Anyway, a bookcase in one corner holds hundreds of leather-bound volumes. Ornate drapes are drawn across a large window. A cabinet along one wall holds pikes and swords of a variety of deadly shapes and sizes. In the center of the room is a model landscape, which you recognize as the Vale of Willow. Armies of miniature troops are positioned on the model. This must be the invasion plan. Very nice drawing there, again, by Russ Nicholson. Lovely. Leaning against the table with eyes fixed on you is Baltus Dyer himself. His very stature is formidable. Well over 2 meters tall. Well, of course, with that top knot thing, it's going to be even more, isn't it? He's built like an ox, with broad shoulders and muscular arms. In his battle tunic of leather with wide-studded wristbands, he looks more a soldier than the demi-sorcerer he really is. Well, I suppose he's both. Impudent peasant, he growls. Do you think you are any match for Baltus Dire? With these words, he snaps his fingers, and you hear a grunting from behind. You swing around to see a grotesque creature shambling towards you. Its hairy body has 4 arms, each ending in vicious-looking hooks. As it approaches, it slashes the air in front of it. Why, I'll wager you are not even a match for a claw beast, laughs Dire. Will you draw your sword? Cast a shielding spell? Cast a weakness spell? I don't have any shielding spells left. I do have a weakness spell. Do I have a creature copy spell? Weakness spell. Yeah, weakness spell. Because a powerful creature like this, it's those kinds of creatures that seem to respond the best to weakness spells, isn't it? So I'm casting a weakness spell, and the beast whimpers as the spell takes effect. The immense weight is indeed a burden without its normal strength. It collapses in a heap, unable even to lift itself from the ground. Step over and run your sword through its chest. The unfortunate creature lies dead at your feet. That was easier than I... Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong place again. That's easier than I expected. Turn to 77. Yeah, but I've still got some work left to do here. Baltus Dire is surprised at your success. So, he exclaims, you think yourself stronger than the rest, eh? You may act quickly and cast a spell at him. Which will you choose? The fire spell, creature copy spell, or ESP spell? Fire, I'm sort of... Creature copy. He's a magician, though. Will he be able to counter any of these things? And if he is able to counter it, then the most dangerous things for me to cast, if he can counter it, is fire and creature copy, surely. So maybe ESP. Maybe I can do ESP and see if I can find out more about his weakness or what he's up to. He must have a weak spot. You concentrate on the sorcerer's mind. Images and words flash through your head. A couple of seconds later, there is nothing. Oh, so you sort of blocked it then. You look up at Baltus Dire, who is glaring at you. Do not try to probe the mind of Baltus Dire, he commands. You concentrate again, but still receive nothing as he is now blocking your spell. You reflect for a second on the images you did receive. A chart under the battle plan table. A sense of horror at the high-pitched screech. A blinding light. A ring on his finger. A razor-edged sword. And you. So, okay, let's see what we got. Chart under the table. Sense of horror at the high-pitched screech. Okay, that's I don't have anything that can make a high-pitched screech. Blinding light. Well, I did read that he didn't like sunlight, or that it was poisonous to him. Ring on his finger. Razor-edged sword. So razor-edged. So of course he's sort of. I suppose they're sort of referring to different. Okay, so and you okay. So he's scared. It doesn't mean he's scared of me, maybe. Right, there must be some clue there. He is now mumbling under his breath, watching you with one eye. He raises one hand in the air and concentrates his gaze on it. Then he looks at you. He waves his hand in the air backwards and forwards and side to side. So backwards and forwards and side to side, faster and faster. With a crash, he brings his hand down on the table. You fall to the floor, not in surprise, but because the ground beneath you is shaking violently. The whole room seems to be tossing like a ship in a tempest, although he has a firm footing and is now walking towards you. You cannot rise to your feet at all. Your only chance is a spell, if you have any left. If so, will you use a levitation spell or an illusion spell? Well, if I can't get up, I think levitation. I want to levitate. If I can't get up from the ground, excuse me. Levitation surely would be the right thing to use. I'm going to use a levitation spell. There's no time to create illusions when you're lying on the floor because you're so vulnerable. I want to. If you're lying on the floor, you can't do anything. You need to get up on your feet. So levitation it is. You rise into the air. The room continues to shake around you, but you can float freely. You may fly to wherever you wish in the room. Okay, so to the armory cupboard. Quickly nip behind the sorcerer. Not a nipping thing there. That's not nipping. Over to the window or under the table. So I know there's a chart under the table because I was given the hint earlier. He was thinking about a sharp sword, so maybe that is in the armory cupboard. There's something about a ring, so maybe that's... And also the bright... Maybe he was... yeah, that's twice now there's been a mention of sunlight, or indirectly in the second case. Maybe I should get over to the window. That seems such an unlikely option if it isn't useful. I'm going to go over to the window. I want to use cunning now to beat him because, well, I could have beaten him straight down with skill and stamina probably, but I'd much rather do it with cunning and magic because that is more fun. Oh, did I look at the wrong... Oh, did I look at the wrong paragraph now? Hang on. I looked at the wrong paragraph. Levitation 279. And then it's 78 window. Okay, so yeah, I was on that. His eyes follow you to the window. His pupils have turned milky white. He leans his head back, blinks once and moans, snapping his head forwards. He now glares at you with eyes that have turned to shining silver. His gaze is hypnotic, and you will have to act quickly, will you? Hide yourself behind one of the drapes, pull one of the drapes down and throw it over his head. I'll look through your backpack for something to use. Let's see, I don't have a hairbrush, by the way. I used those things. Hide yourself behind the drapes. That doesn't seem very useful. Looking through the backpack. Doesn't sound like I've got anything that's useful. Spider jar, I somehow doubt it. The myriad is broken. The mirror, can't see what that would do. I mean, he would just look at himself. So pull one of the drapes down and throw it over his head, I guess. Makes sense, does it? Well, he's sort of looking at me, so if I pull one of the drapes down, maybe I'll sort of be able to cover his eyes and he won't be able to use his magic on me. Yeah, I'll try that. Maybe that will prevent him from casting a spell now. As the drape falls, daylight streams in through the window. Oh. You realize that you have lost all track of time since entering the Citadel. The sun is a welcome relief after your many hours of darkness. A thump makes you turn back towards your adversary. He is lying in a heap on the ground. You take a step forwards and he lets out a blood-curdling scream. "The curtain! You fool!" He gasps in a voice that is obviously weak and dying. Oh, yeah. "The curtain! You fool!" Yeah, I can do better than that. I'll work on that. Evidently, the daylight you have let in is sapping his strength rapidly, and he is trying desperately to crawl into the shadows. But he's too weak to move far, and he slumps to the ground face downwards, turn to 400, and somebody is at the door. I'll be right back. Right, sorry about that. I was almost managed to finish without getting disturbed. So, where was I again? Oh, I forgot to put in the bookmark, didn't I? Let's see. So, can you tell me where I was now? Okay, so I was at 78. Ah, yeah, 78. And then I was at 124. So, he is too weak to move far, and he slumps to the ground face downwards, turned to 400. Yes, that's basically where I was. So Turn to 400. That's a turn up for the books. Baltus Dire, lying at your feet, is dead. Your mission has been completed. The Vale of Willow is safe from attack, for the time being at least. To make sure his plan is destroyed, you take the drapes from the window and spread them across the table on which his battle plan is laid out. Taking a candle, you set fire to the rich curtains. As the flames lick the table, you consider your own escape. Do you have a levitation spell left? If so, you may cast it and float out through the window to the safety of the ground below. If not, then you will need to recall your reserves of skill and cunning to avoid the guards and dangers of the Citadel on your escape. But that is another story. And that, my friends, is how you win the Citadel of Chaos. And that might not have been the easiest route, but I certainly made some very good decisions at the end there, probably. I'm sure there would have been lots of ways there to die. Right. So I didn't have a levitation spell left, did I? So I couldn't levitate down. So getting out of there would have been difficult, but I think I would have managed, surely, because, yeah, I still had a fire spell and a stamina spell and some nice... and I had very good skill. So... Right, so that is actually it, surprising. I wasn't expecting to finish it today. I was expecting to have to do one more session now. I was hoping to get to Baltus Dire at the end and then fail in some way that would leave me with very few options of what exactly I needed to do to win. So I'm very pleased with that. And also, I think there are still some areas of the Citadel I haven't been to, and I'll be quite curious to have a look at those when I do my mapping later. So, of course, I forgot to do my map for the end now. Oh, yeah, well, I would have remembered, I think, because yeah. So what can I say about this now? I'm not going to say too much about it, I guess, because I want to leave more comments perhaps for my Aftermath episode, and it'll be a bit of a challenge to see how I'm going to do it with the magic. That said, I think that I didn't need that many spells. I didn't need anything from... let's see, I got the sword, I got the mirror, I got the spider from that sort of part after I bumped into the leprechaun. If I'd not lingered in the library, I think I would have actually been easier to get to the end. So the easiest path probably is to go to the library, read the right books to get the one. You only need to read one book, really, the one with the combination, to get the combination. It's one of those things I'm never assuming that you would know from one playthrough to the next. So that's always essential information and essential items. You can't skip those. So you need to know the password, and you need to know... I don't need to know the password. There are other ways through, but for easiest access, you need to know the password. Scimitar to get into the Citadel, and you need to know the combination to the lock, and otherwise it's... yeah. So I think that and of course there are very few battles. I mean, a few of my battles now were... the battle against the golem was not necessary, probably. So the only really difficult battle is... so that means I didn't have that many battles. So sort of 4, 1, 2, 3, 2. So basically just two battles. The first one in the courtyard, and then the one against the Gark. The only luck rolls I had to do was the one to pick up the fleece. Still have to find out if there's an alternative way to get past the Hydra, because I have to check that out, because I still don't know what happens if you use the spider in the jar, or if you use the what's it called, Pocket Myriad. Maybe one of those will allow you to get past as well. And if they do, that might be so. The route I take, if of course on the route I take, you can get the Pocket Myriad and the spider. So maybe that is the easier route if your luck is low. I'll have to look into these things, but it's very interesting, and I like the way it's structured. And it's all the monsters in this one are, well, most of the monsters are unconventional and interesting and very inventive and imaginative. The rooms are very interesting. I think there's a lot of really good things going on in this book that I haven't really seen in the other ones, and I quite like it. I think it's still, and it's going to remain probably for some time, maybe my favorite book in the series. Because the next one up is, because once I do my aftermath episode of this, I will get on to this book, which is The Forest of Doom, which I have played before. I think this is more back to basic. No magic. It's about finding the right path. Again, and this is written by Ian Livingstone, of course. That'll be interesting to see how that compares now, and also, but I really enjoy doing this, and I think that yeah, I don't know if there are any more in the basic fighting fantasy system now that uses this magic system, but I actually really like that. It added another dimension to it and another focus as well, and the choice of spells, probably actually the way I see it, the choice of spells is probably by far more important than any of the other abilities. So the only ability that really matters is the magic ability, and if the magic one is low, I think you might still be able to get the spells you need. But if your luck is low and your magic is low, you might not have room for luck spells, and so there's a certain chance you won't make it. But it's would be a very unusual combination. I'll say more about that when I've done my calculations and simulations and my mapping. So I'll leave you for now, and I must say that thanks for watching, and thanks for your patience in watching another episode again of this. If this is the very first episode you've seen, there is a whole lot of other things to watch, so go to the playlist and have a look through the other ones. I hope you will be looking forward to my next one. Please leave a comment, please subscribe, please like the video if you liked and if you enjoyed watching it on any sort of level, or just even a little bit of it. If you watched the whole thing, do like it. And yeah, I think that's it for the moment. That's all I have to say. Enjoy the rest of your day, and be sure to wash your hands and stay inside. Make sure that you keep everyone safe during these interesting times. So stay inside and play a game book. Go to eBay. If you don't have any, go to eBay and look for Citadel of Chaos or Warlock of Firetop Mountain or any of the early books. They shouldn't cost more than a few pounds to pick up on eBay. They should be plentiful and cheap. And get some of those. Enjoy your quarantine or quarantine. It's more, yeah, quarantine, not quarantine. It's as a video I saw the other day that from I think it was a Nigerian lady or South African lady or something who was thanking God for this quarantine. That's how you say it in Africa. So I'm getting affecting how I speak now. Yeah, quarantine. The lockdown, the quarantine, the self-isolation, whatever your reason for staying inside, if you are a vulnerable person who needs to be isolating to, what do you call it, to be shielded, get one of these books and enjoy yourself. It's much nicer than playing a computer game, I think. I mean, there are computer game versions of these books. I've tried one time, and it just bored me right away because I'm so used to. It's just the physicality of leafing through a book. It's such a different experience. It's so much more fun, and also if you do want to cheat, it's a lot easier as well. But if you don't want to cheat, yeah, then that's fine. But it's yes, I'm starting to ramble now. Ignore me. Enjoy your day, and goodbye for now. Bye bye.